Okay, everyone, I'd just like to welcome everyone to PAB027. If everyone can pull up the agenda. So before we, I guess, call the meeting to order for opening of the session, I'd like to just sort of shuffle point one around and start off with the accreditation of PAB members for 2022. This would allow Jesse, who has switched companies and is now representing Alaska Glacier, to join the meeting. I have the two letters from the two parties wishing to join the PAB this year in front of me. Unfortunately, we can't. We've been told we can't display the letters up on screen for privacy reasons because of the signature. So I'm just going to read the letters from each member wishing to join. The first one is from Sitka Salmon Shares. Dear International Pacific Halibut Commission Processor Advisory Board members, Sitka Salmon Shares is interested in becoming members of the International Pacific Halibut Commission's Processor Advisory Board. Founded in 2010, Sitka Salmon Shares is an innovative seafood company dedicated to providing a premier wild Alaskan seafood experience for home cooks across the country, while supporting small boat Alaskan fishermen and fishing communities. The company specializes in delivering premium quality, responsibly caught seafood to customers mostly in the Midwest, but increasingly nationwide via an online seafood market. Sitka Salmon Shares has a seafood processing plant in Sitka, a distribution facility in Galesburg, Illinois, and a marketing and finance hub in Madison, Wisconsin. Our investors represent our commitment to community-based capital and include 22 fishermen owners and growing. Our subscription-based model allows our subscribers to receive 4.5 pounds of premium Alaskan seafood delivered monthly to their doorstep. We buy seafood, including Pacific halibut, direct from fishermen, owners, and community members in Sitka and Kodiak. To support our subscriptions, we also source seafood from various processors and fishermen from Alaska and other select fishing communities and fisheries outside Alaska. We are interested in having a seat on the PAB in order to represent our medium processor in Sitka to foster cooperative relationships and better understanding of the Pacific halibut industry. The company is nominating Michael Cohen as the PAB representative for Sitka Salmon Shares. Thank you for considering our membership. Do not hesitate to contact us with any questions. Sincerely, Dara Chapman, Chief Operating Officer. The second letter is from Alaska Glacier Seafoods. Dear PAB members, Alaska Glacier Seafoods would like to become a member of PAB. AGS, Alaska Glacier Seafoods, buys halibut directly from fishermen in Juneau, Fishing Area 2C. The company has been buying halibut in Juneau for 20 years. AGS sells halibut wholesale to both distributors and retailers nationally, as well as offering product direct to consumer through our e-commerce marketplace, Alaska Homepack. AGS has nominated Jesse Keplinger to represent Alaska Glacier Seafoods at PAB. Thank you for considering our request to participate on the PAB. Sincerely, Alaska Glacier Seafoods. So those are the
Carl,
two new. Yes, Jesse.
Go ahead. Sorry. Finish. Go for it.
No, I was just going to ask if the Secretariat could pull up the membership list.
Okay, we're working on that right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Jesse?
I was just going to add, just for everybody's information, that we're going to use a different voting system on this round. And so we might want to go through who's in the participation list and do like a roll call and designate who's going to vote for what company. And then we can vote on membership, just so that way the Secretariat knows who's here and then who's going to vote.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a change this year on how the vote is going to be run. Basically, last year we did a screen grab with the vote. but the Secretariat is choosing to use a secondary software for that application this year. So once we have the attendance list verified and with the correct email address, the Secretariat will send a link for this external software called Voting Buddy, I believe it is, to be used for the voting process.
So we're going to try to share differently. Okay, so for this, this is the list. Can you turn that off? Sorry, I'm getting an echo on my end.
Feedback.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so this list is generated from the final attendance list from last year. The upper section was who was present for PAB026, and the bottom portion is organizations that were not present. We would like to, for this meeting, confirm the companies who are here and accredited, who the voting delegate is, and that we have the correct voting delegate email. If the screen on your lower left is too small for you to see, at the top of that window, where the pointer is, you can see a button that you can click on to expand it to see it better. And maybe, Carl, you can just walk through each company and then at the end see if we missed anybody. And then one element of this is the issue of proxies, and proxies essentially are the ability to vote for a company or representative who is not here. And the rules of procedure are somewhat circular on this in that they require a proxy to be voting for someone who's present, which doesn't quite make sense. So I would suggest that there probably needs to be a change on the rules of procedure to address that. But we do know that proxies have been a traditional thing done in this group, and that there are one or two, there's two that I know of, proxies that have been put forward for this meeting. And we want to make sure we capture those and that we then, or I would recommend then that you also make corrections in the rules of procedure to prevent kind of the circularity where someone has to be present to be eligible to have a proxy vote for them. So I'm missing one of the proxies that came in late on this particular file. And I'm just looking it up real quick.
I believe the proxy was from Pacific Seafood Group, Dave Brindle, and it was given to Kit at E&E.
Okay. Okay, so as you can see here, there's the column E is the current voting delegate, column F is their email, and if there's a proxy that's expected to be voting for them, it's listed in G with a proxy email in H. So you might just want to work your way down the list.
Okay. I can go through. Yes, Jesse, please.
I was just gonna, as like maybe as a suggestion, if it's Heather asked a great question. Since they don't have mics, they can't like actually get access. So if you are the voting member of your company, maybe that person could at least raise their hand, so that way the Secretariat and I can start working on giving those people's names, because I can help through the chat over here. But Carl, I think still go through it verbally, but if people that are going to vote for their company, if they want to raise their hand, that might be helpful.
Okay, so just reading through the list, present from the meeting, representing Canada, 7Cs Nick Harris, Arrow Trading, Brad Moreau, Coldfish Seafoods, Casey Sugden, SM Products, Blake Tipton, but that will be myself this year. Under United States, 170 Degrees West, Central Bering Sea Fishermen's Association, Heather McCarthy, Dana F. Besser Company, Miles Smith, Halibut Association of North America, Peggy Parker, Kachemak Bay, William Sullivan, OBI Seafoods, Isaac Schlackler, Pacific Seafood Group, Dave Brindle, Northport Fisheries, Tyler Goodnight, Seafood Producers Co-op, Norm Pillen, E&E, Kit Durnell, and Yakutat Seafood / E&E, Greg Inderlin. But I believe Kit is representing Greg and Yakutat this year, correct?
So is Kit's also representing a proxy for Pacific Seafoods? Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
So is he a
And
proxy
I
for two
have,
groups then?
well, it's E&E Yakutat Seafoods. I believe it's,
That's one combined company.
yeah, I don't, if you want to give maybe Kit access to the mic, he can explain it possibly better. But I believe he's representing both. Kit, I see your mic has been activated.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Yakutat Seafoods and E&E are the same, so I would be representing E&E, and I am doing a proxy for Pacific Seafood, and if you can let me know where to write my email address. I noticed it's not filled in there, and we need to remove the Pacific Seafood part of the email address. So can I write it in the help desk window, or where do we write those things?
If you could also read it out to me, and I'll just overwrite it here on the spreadsheet.
Okay, so the email address for myself, which would be E&E Foods, is kitd at eefoods.com. And then under the proxy,
kitd at eefoods.com.
yes, and then at the proxy, yeah, the Kit Journal at Pack Seafood is no longer current.
Okay.
So
Do you have a?
It'd be the
So
same.
I don't think
You know, David Brindle is he's the Pacific Seafood representative, but he's not available for this meeting, so I'll be doing proxy for him. So if you want to put my email address on that, that's fine.
Okay. So, sorry, just I'm gonna take my mic off for a moment and just ask a question. So, okay, hi Kit. Just a quick follow-up. We have this new election system that sends out an email for confirmation, then you vote through a separate window. But it'd be best if we had a separate email for you that one of those could be done on, so that you're voting through, I don't know, Kit at EE Foods for your EE Foods rep, but a separate one for your proxy. Do you have a different email that we could use for your proxy?
Yes, you could use HIJK Durnell, or my last name, at Gmail.
HIJK Durnell at gmail.com.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And then to clarify, if we have questions or whatnot, we just ask it in the help desk window?
Correct. And there should be someone there monitoring that. Right now I'm sharing my screen, so I can't see if you're asking questions, but I'll be able to see that later.
Okay, thank you.
Carl, same question for you. You are representing S&M Products, but you're doing a proxy, I believe, for Arrow. So do you have a separate email we could use for your proxy?
Yeah, carl.nordman@me.com.
.me.
Sorry, it's no. Take it back. carl.nordman@me.com.
Okay. Can you see that on there? Is that correct?
Yep, yep, it is.
Sounds good.
And then it just have been pointed out that there's some additional members that were not present at last year's meeting, but present at this year's meeting that are on the list. I think particularly if we just look in the help desk, Bruce Hale from FAS Seafoods is
So he
present,
should be moved up
and
to present.
yes, and also Stephen Miner for Peter Pan Seafoods. And in the help desk, Norm Pillen from Seafood Producers Co-op provided his email address.
Someone want to give me that now, or
It's N Pillen, NPILLEN at SPCSALES.com.
spcsales.com.
.com, correct.
Okay. And do we have an email for Isaac Schottler? And do we have Isaac spelt correctly?
We'll see. I'm just looking. It looks like his the last name's SCHACTLER. I'm just looking for email address for Isaac.
And is Isaac a double C or is it a double A?
It's double A.
Okay. And then if you can clarify for Kit Durnell, I'm a little confused as to whether we should have him listed with Yakutat Seafoods /EE or just simply EE Seafood or EE Foods.
We can put the slash Yakutat Seafood /E&E is fine.
Okay. And then Steve
And then,
Miner, I don't know if you have an email for him either.
and if you want to maybe give Steve's mic access where he can, and maybe Isaac so they can clarify their email addresses.
Okay, I believe that's been done. So they just simply need to click on the microphone to activate it themselves. We've enabled it, but they need to activate it so we don't accidentally turn them on when they don't expect it.
Yeah.
So go ahead, either Steve or Isaac, if you can turn on your mic and just let us know your email, please.
I'll chime in for Steve's email. I managed to find it here. It's Steve M.
Yeah.
At PPSF.
PPFF or SS?
No, PPSF. SamFrank.com.
Roger that.
Is my mic working? Anyone hear me?
Yes,
Roger
we
that.
hear you.
Hey, this is Isaac Schockler. So could you throw a C after the A in my last name?
You bet. Like that?
Okay, and then my emails. Yep, my email is just going to be isaac.schockler@obicfoods.com.
At OBI, sorry, can you repeat
Thank
the
you.
last part?
obicfoods.com.
Okay,
Thank you.
roger that. Okay, so I don't know what format you move new applicants in. If that's something that needs to be voted on, we could test the voting system, or we can move them up there and then test the voting system for the selection of chair and vice chair.
I believe we need to vote the members in, but given the requirements that they provided, doesn't appear to be any red flags.
Okay, and before we get there, actually, is there anybody on the absent that should not be here? And is there a name for a contact for Ocean to Table? And is there an email for Carol?
I have a note here from Steve Miner saying in the help desk that you can drop Ocean to Table, Alaska.
Okay, roger that.
Yep.
Okay, and if anybody has an email for Carol just for keeping our records straight, that would be great. But right now we currently have the top section here that I'm highlighting as voters. So I will pull this spreadsheet down. I will share it with Tara. She will populate the election buddy, and you should all receive an email at your designated email, as well as Kit and Carl at your proxy emails. And
The only I just want to I'm just looking at the participant list, just seeing if everyone's represented, and I'm
yeah,
seeing that someone's from Huna Cold Storage is present.
Yeah, I
okay.
just noticed I'm here and we're listed in the absent.
So they're not voting, you're just listening in?
No, they're present for the current meeting.
Gotcha.
So
So do
you
you
can
want me to
move
move them up to the top
Huna
part?
Cold Storage. Correct.
Okay, roger.
And if anyone is not represented in the current present list for roll call, please put your hand up if you don't have mic access.
If it makes any
Just to
difference, I represent Taku as well. I'm with Huna, but Hank and we both represent Taku and Huna.
So is Hank here or no? I can't see that part of the list.
He's not in the meeting today, no.
And you haven't filed nobody's filed a proxy for that?
I'm sorry?
Has anyone filed or given you a proxy to represent Taku?
I do not believe, I've not received one.
Okay.
Okay, and
I
are we speaking to Tim? Sorry.
or not. Yes, this is Tim. Sorry.
Okay, and Tim, what email should we have? Because right now your email is associated with Hank's.
Yeah, just change the Hank to Tim, and it's the same as his, but my name is Tim. Tim at icstraightseafoods.com.
Roger that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is there any other names we need to move around?
Doesn't appear to be, doesn't see, no one has raised their hand. They're not
Okay,
represented,
so
so looks
we'll
to
harvest all
match.
those emails and we'll draft up, I don't know, maybe Carl, you can give me some verbiage for one at a time for Sitka Salmon shares that were either there's a motion to accept Sitka Salmon share or to credit Sitka Salmon shares, something to that end, and then something similar for
Yep.
Alaska Glacier. We'll do them as two separate votes.
Okay.
Okay,
So
I'm
If
just
I
going to
can
save
really,
this.
oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry everybody, this is Jessie.
Go ahead, Jesse.
I believe we have to have someone on the, from the, someone just needs to put forth a motion for the vote.
I was about ready to do that.
Okay.
I move that we accept both newly requested members, Sitka Salmon Shares and Alaska Glacier.
Do we have a second?
Second. Heather.
Heather, thank you.
So I'm just going to pause for a second. I'm going to get off the screen and share the file, and then I'll put that motion up on the screen as well, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Carl, if I may.
Sorry, Jesse?
Uh, Through the chair, can I speak real quick?
Yes.
Just wanted to let everyone know if you were right now, if you're designated as the voter, so if you have a number in front of your name, you can now enable your own mic. So the Secretariat has said for the initial, if there's, as long as there's not a ton of people talking at one time, then you should be able to turn on your mic by yourself and speak whenever you need to. If things get a little bit hectic, they may mute us all, and then you'll have to start raising your hand. But for now, you should be able to turn on your own mic if you'd like to speak.
Thank you, Jesse.
Not sure if I
Thank you,
captured
Claude.
your motion correctly.
Yep, that's good. So do we want to send a test
So
email out, Claude?
yeah, so
Or
Tara's
email out for a test vote?
correct. So Tara's what's going to happen here is Tara will populate Election Buddy with each of your emails, including actually I have to share the file with her probably. I'll do that, and then I'll follow up with an explanation of how the votes system should work.
Tara, you can just, if you can let us know once that email has been sent.
Okay, I'm back. So what should happen is that each of the emails that you provided, or 2 emails if you're also doing a proxy, you should receive an email from a software called Election Buddy. If it doesn't show up, it's going to take a few minutes, this first one. If it doesn't show up in your inbox, please check your junk folder. But what'll happen is there'll be a link in there, and within the email, it'll tell you what your username is and a password. And you'll click on the link and it'll take you to the current vote. And it may ask you for your password the first time. It'll do that in a web browser, whatever web browser you typically use. You then make your selection for your vote, and it's either yay, nay, or abstain. And then after you've clicked that, it'll bring you to a new window showing that you've clicked yay, nay, or abstain, and then you need to submit that. Once you've hit submit, it will show up as a vote on our end, and we can quickly tally all the yays, nays, and abstains, and Tara will populate that to the Adobe Connect window that's on your lower left there with a summary of the results of that, and then you can move on to the next agenda item. The first one's more or less a test just to make sure we can get everybody's vote and that we've got everybody's email correct, that sort of thing. So this first one will take us slightly longer time than most of them will. And you can just leave your Election Buddy window open is probably the best way to do it. And the next one will populate in that window. So if another vote comes up, another motion comes up, it should automatically show you the next vote that you will be voting on. So we're just going through the population of it right now and getting the text in it and sending it off to you. So it might take a few minutes this first one, but once we've got everybody dialed in, it should be pretty seamless and quick.
Thank you, Claude.
All right. So it's sounding like we're having some hiccups with the election, buddy. So it might be best just to go to the raised hands feature again on this motion. And we will do a screenshot of the way we did this last year is under the raised hand button, there is an agree, a disagree, or I believe hands up was abstain. So if you click on the drop down of your hands up, there's an agree, disagree, or raise hand. And the convention will be agree, agree, disagree is a nay, and a raised hand is a disagree. Sorry, is an
Sorry,
abstain. I'm
it's
sorry.
abstention. Yes.
Correct. Yep.
How about for the proxy?
Would you just be able to, Claude? Would you just be able to match them up with the proxies since there's only two?
Match them up. How so?
Like Carl Nordman for SM Products. You know, my vote also counts for Aero Trading with the
That's
proxy and
assuming
with
they're the same. Yeah, that's assuming they're the same. But
yes.
maybe we'll go with that assumption that they're going to be the same. Otherwise,
Claude,
yeah,
you could do two votes, one for representatives and one for proxies,
that's probably cleaner.
just in case.
Yeah. Thank you, Peggy. Okay, so if people can do their yays, nays on accepting new membership of Sitka Salmon Shares in Alaska Glacier.
So I'm just seeing Bruce Hale and Tyler Goodnight. Oh, Tyler, you just voted. Bruce is the only member that hasn't voted yet.
So we're just waiting for Bruce. Bruce,
Bruce.
if you look at the hand up button there, if you hit the drop down, you can either agree, disagree, or leave your hand up, like raise your hand for an abstention.
So we'll give him another minute here, and if not, so we'll capture it and move on. I'm not sure if he's at his desk or not. If the Secretariat wants to just count the vote.
Okay, sounds good. So we're going to count that vote, and then if we can do, just put all the hands down for us, Tara, and we'll do a secondary vote for the proxies, please. Okay, and we're ready for the proxies. Yes. Okay, can we capture that? Yeah. So how do we get the? Sorry, just stand by. We're figuring out how to best portray that, but essentially that vote did pass.
Pass. Okay.
So I got, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, Peggy,
Yes. Yes, Peggy.
15 representatives and 2 proxies, but then I saw Kachemak Bay voting with the proxies, so there were 3 hands up on that vote. So just for future, Claude, can you tell us how many voters we have?
Sorry, I'm on mute. I just have to call up the spreadsheet that I was using for that to verify it.
Thank you.
So there should be 16 eligible voters and 2 proxies.
Great, thank you.
Tara, can you pull up the agenda again, please?
Yeah. So moving on to the next item, the election of chairperson and vice chairperson. Do we want to open the floor up for discussion?
We could take nominations.
Yes.
I would like to nominate Jesse Keplinger for chair.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that, Carl.
Okay. Jesse, is that something you'd be willing to accept? Are there any other nominations before you answer that? Okay, I'll ask again. Jesse, are you willing to accept?
It's just the nomination. There could be other nominations coming.
Well, okay. I opened it for more nominations and
Yeah.
I didn't hear anyone.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
I could withdraw my nomination if she would like.
Seems like she might be having some mic
Jesse
issues.
would need to reactivate her mic. We've re-enabled her, but she would need to activate her mic.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
just
she
on
couldn't.
that
She
topic,
currently can't hear anything.
oh, she
So.
can't hear us. Okay.
Yeah, she asked if people are talking. So. She doesn't know she's nominated.
Okay.
So yeah, just for convention, right now we're going to leave your guys' mics enabled, but it's up to you to activate them. And then if we get too many people speaking through each other, we will move back to putting your hand up and then us enabling your mic and then you activating it. But right now we're just leaving them enabled and letting you guys toggle them on and off unless it gets too chaotic. Through the
Thank
chair,
you.
if that works for you guys.
Yep.
The current chair.
No. thank you. I mean, traditionally it's been, a U.S. processor represents the PAB when the meeting is held in the U.S. Technically, this is being held in Bellevue. So by the rules of procedure, it should be a U.S. chair.
That's right. I have a suggestion, Mr. Chair, so far.
Yes.
You know, if when we get into discussions and everyone has a thought that they'd like to express, it might be good to keep the mics as they are, but to also raise our hands so that the chair has a way to see who has raised their hand first and who to call on next. And then that will prevent talking
Yes.
over each other. Okay,
Yeah.
so we might use the raised hand approach.
Okay. Guess we're just waiting to see if Jesse can sort her mic issues out.
So the secretariat's also trying to reach out to her with a direct message just to let her know that people are trying to reach her.
Okay.
Okay,
Jesse
can
is.
we?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Jesse.
Sorry about that.
So you have been nominated for chair, and
Okay.
if you'd be willing to accept. Is that a yes, Jesse?
Sure.
Okay. Did we lose her mic again?
Looks that way.
Yeah.
Looks like Peggy has a question as well.
Yes, Peggy.
I was just wondering, I was just going to ask for a sound check from Jesse.
Yeah. It looks like we lost her mic again, Peggy.
Right. Maybe we should ask for more nominations.
If there is any more nominations, we are open to hear them. Kit?
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to be in the same situation as Jesse. I mean, I would be interested in doing a chair, but this morning's meetings, I had to log in 5 different times, and so I don't want it to be a disruption. I mean, currently it's working fine, but it's so in and out in Seward.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Kit. Thank you. Can this secretariat help Norm get access to his microphone? Just see the note in the chat. Heather.
So, sorry, one moment. Can you clarify which company Norm's with? Because on our feed we can only see the name of the company. I apologize.
Seafood Producers Co-op.
Thank you.
Heather.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If it's appropriate, I'll move for nominations to be closed.
Nominations to be closed, so just it defaults.
Well, if Jessie said she was willing to do it, I believe that's what she said.
Correct.
And there don't seem to be any additional nominations. And
Correct. But the issue right now is she doesn't have access to her microphone.
I see that. I see that.
So
I don't know what to do about that.
yeah, it looks like she's back right now.
Okay, or you could be named vice chair.
Yes. So the election then would be next for vice chair. In the interim. Someone want to nominate me as vice chair?
I nominate.
Carl, I'll nominate you.
Okay. Second.
I second, Peggy.
Thank you, Peggy. Okay. And I accept. So in the interim, while Jessie helps sort her mic out, I'll move on to the second part of the agenda, the adoption of the agenda. So
Do you want to do a vote on that motion first, or are you just good with it?
on the nomination for chair, vice chair?
Roger.
I believe in the past it was nomination, second, and acceptance. Peggy, if
Okay.
you want to.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's getting late. That's fine.
Okay. Heather, is your hand still up or?
Yes, yes, Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Please. Yes, I can.
Regarding the adoption of the agenda, is that where we are?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I would just like to ask a couple of questions regarding some of the agenda items, or one of the
Okay.
agenda items. Well, a couple actually. So, agenda item number 3, are we actually going to have those individuals speak to the group, or are we just referring to them and being able to ask questions during that period of time?
They will not be, my understanding is they will not be, giving their presentations again, but they are available for any questions and or discussion that the PAB might have.
Okay, thank you. And then on the rules of procedure, item number 7.
Yes.
It's been unclear to me over the last couple of days whether that is going to be subject to a vote by the PAB membership.
Right. So my understanding is, in speaking to the Canadian commissioners, they would like to hear the PAB's feedback on the procedures. It was brought up on one side of the coin from Dave that it should just be a facilitation of discussion and no vote, as some members might not feel comfortable voting on it. But at the same time, the commissioners also gave me the feedback that, a vote might give them some sort of direction on how the PAB feels about the changes. So once we're in Rule 7, if a member puts a motion to vote, we can have a vote.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to know what the process was going to be there.
Yes. Yeah, no problem.
So if I may, through the chair.
Yes.
So kind of echoing what you said, but we've been told that the commissioners are certainly looking for the PAB's input on their own rules of procedure. They're looking for constructive discussion. so the commissioners themselves are informed of the key positions and issues they're in. And Executive Director Dr. Wilson will be available to start that conversation should you want that.
Okay, thank you. For point number 9, I had some feedback given for the review of the draft and adoption of the report of the 27th session of the IPHC Processor Advisory Board, PAB027, where it says chairperson, comma, IPHC Secretariat. That potentially it should be corrected to show that the PAB chair leads on this item. This came forward from someone at DFO.
I agree. I'm not sure what needs to be changed on that, though. Can you elaborate a little more?
Yeah, the note was in looking at the PAB027 agenda and reflecting on the Canadian delegation discussion this morning, I noticed that the IPH Secretariat chairperson is listed as the lead for agenda item number 9. And I wondered whether this was normal practice, and if it isn't, whether this should be brought up in the review of the agenda in item number 2 and potentially corrected to show that the PAB chair leads on this item. Specific wording as follows. Review of the draft and adoption of the report of the 27th session of the IPHC Processor Advisory Board, PAB027, chairperson, comma, IPHC Secretariat.
That is how it reads on this.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a little bit confused to it as well. So non-motion, it might have been an older draft they were looking at.
Okay.
So is there any other changes to the agenda?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, this is
Yes.
Peggy.
Vice Chair.
Yeah. I'll just make a note that on item 6.1 and 6.2 are the mortality limits and the season dates, which are covered under item 4 and 5. So we'll be killing 2 birds with 1 stone by the time we get to 6. 6.3 is a housekeeping fishery regulation proposals, and we may have questions on that. But the other 2 will already have taken care of. Thank you.
Jesse, your hand's up. It looks like you're back.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if you guys could hear me.
Yes, thank you.
Carl, I'm happy to take over at any moment if you want me to, or you can. Yeah.
No, please, no, please. Okay. Hand the floor back over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully this will maintain. Peggy, were you trying to put forth a motion on adjusting the agenda, or you just wanted to make note that we would just be kind of
just the latter
going over?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else on adjustments to the agenda? At this point, I see no hands raised, and I guess we're just waiting on a motion for somebody to put forth to accept the agenda.
I'd put forth that motion to adopt the agenda as it is.
Okay, Miles, thank you.
I second.
Great. I don't, and this, I guess previously in the past, I think this is another one of those things that we haven't necessarily voted on specifically. We just move forward, but if there's no I guess I could say if there's no objections, then the motion is passed. Peggy, you have your hand up?
I'm trying to find the applause icon.
Very well. So at this point, the motion is passed. Agenda accepted as is. So go ahead, Peggy.
I really don't have anything to say. I'm trying to lower my hand now. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. An easy way is if you click on it, it goes up, and then if you click on it again, it'll go away.
Thank you, Jesse. That's what I needed.
Yeah, no problem at all. Also, I don't know if Michael got a chance to speak, but I wanted to say welcome Michael Cohen and Sitka Salmon Chairs to the meeting. I believe she's I've been a part of this before in a different entity, but that's awesome that Michael is here from Sitka Salmon Chairs as well. And I hope she feels comfortable speaking whenever she gets the chance.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse, for the warm welcome. For everybody who doesn't know me, I'm Michael Cohan. I'm the Science and Policy Director from Sitka Salmon Shares, located in Juneau, Alaska.
Super happy to have you, Michael. And so from there, I guess we're moving on to item number 3. I guess I'll open the floor if anybody has Dr. Wilson said he would make people available as is, and we can just kind of reach out to them and see when they can pop in and pop out. So I guess I'd open up the floor to see if anybody has something in particular that they would like to hear, if anybody has any specific questions for Dr. Stewart or Dr. Hicks or Basha or Dr. Hutchnizak. Norm, please go ahead.
Works. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
I can hear you. Yeah,
can
thanks.
you hear me?
We can hear you.
Your
How about
mic's
now?
on mute right now. Yep, you're back on, Norm.
I'm trying. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can, Norm.
Sounds.
Hello? Testing.
Hey, Norm, we can hear you. Can you hear me? Yep, can you hear me? Hey, Norm, if you can hear us, can you maybe put your hand on agree? Norm, can you hear us?
Through the chair, we can see his microphone going from on to off, and I'm guessing he's toggling it with a delay, so he's overriding when he hears us responding to him. He may need to activate it and give it a moment.
Okay. Heather, if you want to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Vice Chair. Yes, thank you.
I saw Dr. Hutnazak online here a bit ago, but I'm looking now and I don't see her. I did have a couple of questions for her, but I don't see her online, so maybe that could be clarified. How to proceed on that?
can the secretariat, I guess,
Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're back, Norm.
Mr. Chairman, I'll stand down and let.
Yeah, I was having some technical.
go ahead, Norm.
I'm sorry, can I go?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I had a question for Dr. Stewart. Concerning the UE difference between 2B and 2C, 23% differential by my math. I'm not looking at the presentation, but I believe 2B was at a plus 12% and a minus 11% for 2C. And that makes me scratch my head. I wonder if you can speak to that.
So this is Claude here. Would you like us to put a message out to both Dr. Hutzniak and Dr. Stewart to see their availability?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll activate that. And in the meantime, I mentioned this in a chat directly to you, Jesse, but would it be helpful for your membership to have a chat window open on the screen where they can communicate with each other if their mics are having difficulties?
Yes, let's go with that. I think we've got that. They've been using the help desk in that way, but it might be helpful to have a specific just window for chatting.
Okay, we'll activate that as well, and I will let you know as we hear back from Dr. Stewart and Dr. Hutzniak.
Very well. I am also having some technical issues, and Norm cut out for me. I don't know, did someone else catch his question? All I caught was that he would like to speak with Dr. Stewart. So I don't know, Carl, were you able to get his full request?
It was breaking up a little bit as he was on my end when he was reading it.
Okay. So Norm, we may ask that we're waiting to hear back. If you can hear us, awesome. That's hopeful. The Secretariat is going to check in with Dr. Stewart, and when he is available to come answer our questions, if you wouldn't mind, you broke up quite bad. If you wouldn't mind typing your question in the chat that is now on the left side of the window, and then that way we'll have that ready for him when Dr. Stewart is available. Heather, would you like to? I believe you had some questions as well.
Yes, Madam Chair. I had a question or two for Dr. Hudnazak and noted that she wasn't online, and I believe that Claude said that they would seek to have her come online so that we could ask questions.
Lovely. We'll wait to hear back from those guys.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any other? Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Hicks? Very well. It looks like Dr. Hutzniak, I can't say that very well. Cloud, you may have to give me a lesson on that. I will be here very soon. So I don't, if everybody want to take like a brief break, maybe for 5 minutes while we wait and then reconvene.
So just,
go ahead.
She is available now.
Oh,
the one question I did have was, did you want a particular presentation up on the screen?
I will defer to Heather on that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to ask about a couple of her slides, but I apologize, I don't have that in front of me, so I can't tell her what slides. I can describe them, or and then she could put them up if necessary, but I don't really need them. It just depends on what it was. Whenever you're ready, Madam Chair, I can
Okay, so we are going to put up Dr. Hutnisak's presentation, and she will kind of scroll through it and stop where you request, Heather.
Thank you.
And Heather, please proceed. No need to go through me.
Okay. Hello, Dr. Hutnisak. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Dr. Hutnisak?
She can hear you, but apparently you can't hear her, so we're going to do a sound check on her first.
Okie dokie.
How is it now? Perfect.
I can hear you.
Good afternoon. I have a presentation available on the screen, and I am available to answer any questions if these are specific to any particular slides, or if there's any like inquire about making a specific presentation available again to the top. Thank you.
Dr. Hutnisak, this is Heather McCarty. I was recognized by the chair to ask a couple questions if I could. Can you hear me?
Is anybody talking?
We can hear.
Okay, so this is.
Apparently we can all hear you, but she could not, so we're troubleshooting that now.
Okay, just tell me when to try again. Hello?
Hello?
This is Heather. Can you hear me, Dr. Hutnisak?
I could speak, but I cannot hear now.
Okay. Claude, could you advise as to whether we should try again?
Say something?
Hello?
Yeah, if you guys can just keep chatting and see if she can hear you.
Okay, this is Heather again, Dr. Hutnisak. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so she cannot hear you. We're just trying to troubleshoot through her system here.
Okay, but you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. You have a really good feed.
Perhaps I might suggest. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Perhaps Heather, she can see our chat. It sounds like, so I don't know if you want to like type a question in the chat, and then perhaps she could reply verbally.
So they're going to try putting the question.
I'll try that. It'll take me a minute.
Can I just forward?
Okay. Well, it sounds like they're getting a new headset as well, so we'll just wait. We can just wait to see. Hopefully that will fix the issue.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work otherwise. For typing it is too, it's just a little not, it's not very helpful.
That's understandable.
It would take me too long to try to describe.
Okay.
I hear you. I hear you, Dr. Hutnisak. Can you hear me? This is
Perfect. I apologize. This took a little bit of a troubleshooting, but I am available and ready to hear the questions.
no problem. So my first question had to do with, and I apologize for not remembering the number of the slide, but it was a slide that showed a map of Alaska with the various, I think you called them counties. They were sort of areas of Alaska. And on that map, you had landings in little tables kind of superimposed on the map? There it is. So my question was, I would like you to explain a little bit more about the discrepancies between the blue columns and the red columns. I see that one is landings and one is earnings. And so what are we to assume from these different tables? Like, for example, the one that's there for Anchorage, the landings are small to non-existent, I guess, but the earnings are high. And I'm assuming that means that some of the folks that work to catch fish in whatever way in these various regions of Alaska don't actually live in those regions, but many of them might live in Anchorage. Can you just tell me a little bit about how you did all that and whether that is the right assumption?
Yes, of course. So let's start with the first column, which is the percentage of landings. These are, so all the Alaskan landings, the 100% will be allocated between the counties based on the port of entry, so the landing port. So this 100% would be reflected by the blue bars if they were shown here on the map for all counties. On the other hand, we have the red bars that represent the estimated earnings for each of the county. And these reflect exactly the flows that I've been talking about earlier today. So the flows would be related to the residency of the quota owner, the residency of the vessel owner, and this would be for the commercial fishing component. For the processing, this would be related to the address or the point of contact listed on the license or the business license for the processing plant operators. This is to bring this path through the value, like the value chain path from the landing site to the processing component of the value chain. And for the recreational sector, the flows are related to the residency of the charter operator. So where the what is the address what listed on the license for the charter operator? And here I would just note that these earnings, they would not all be not 100% would be allocated to Alaska or and then reallocated between all different counties, because what we estimate is about 30% of earnings flow out of Alaska. So this would be contributing to the economic impact, or in this case, in terms of direct earnings to other regions, particularly the U.S. West Coast mostly. And again, this is because of the quote ownership, residency of the vessel owners, this value chain flows, and the residency of the charter owners permits.
Okay, thank you. So the 30% of earnings that flows out of Alaska is actually represented already in these bar charts by in some way. Is that correct? Or is it an additional 30% on the top of what we see in the red bar in addition to the red bar? Do you see what I mean? Is it being
Right.
already taken off? Yeah.
So yes, so if you want, if I plotted all the counties and sum all the red bars, they would add to 70%, and then the remaining 30% would be for other regions outside Alaska.
That was my question. Thank you. And I one final question, and then I'll be done. And I have not read the paper that's referred to, but I'm assuming in the paper there is a way to determine what communities were included in each of these Aleutians West, Aleutians East, um, Anchorage, and so on, because it's hard to tell which communities are included in each of those compilations. And so I'm assuming that is more clear in the paper itself.
Correct. So to give you more details, so what I've been using are the administrative regions. These are the regions that are used also by the Bureau of Economic Analysis for providing more general statistics for Alaska. This is because the model, besides using the fisheries specific data, is also using the general economic data to kind of embed the uh, embed the economics of the Pacific halibut sectors in a more general um, economy of each of the region. So that's why I'm aligning the regions used in the Pacific halibut multi-regional model with the regions that are reported by the BEA. So these are the more administrative regions, but the more details I think can be found in the specific sources of data that were used in the model.
Okay, thank you. I figured that. So thank you so much, and thank you for doing this work. It's really, really helpful and useful in so many ways. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Those are my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Heather. Thank you, Dr. Huzak. Um, has the Secretariat heard back from Dr. Stewart?
Yes, Dr. Stewart is currently over with the conference board, and he said he would come after he's done there, but don't have an ETA on that.
Oh, okay, no problem. I suppose, oh, Kit, you got your hand up, go ahead.
Yeah, this is related to the same slide. It says the estimated 30% earnings flow out of Alaska. There are a certain amount of landings of Alaskan halibut that flow out of Alaska and get landed into Bellingham, Seattle, Port Rupert. Is that just a minimal number, or do we know how much of that impacts all this?
I apologize, Kat. I should have talked. Is Dr. Hushnizak available to answer that question? Can someone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, yes, we can hear you. I think we need to have the question re-asked. I think it didn't fully come through.
No problem. Go ahead, Kit.
I can do that. This is Kit with E&E Foods, and I was just wondering whether this slide took into account landings of Alaska halibut that were outside of Alaska, say into Bellingham, Newport, Port Rupert, things like that, or is that just a minimal amount that really wouldn't make a difference?
Yes, thank you for this question. The amount landed outside of Alaska is really minimal, but this would not be included here as a landing value for the fisheries included in this particular graph. But this is really minimal amount of landings that we've seen in the data.
Thank you.
So through the chair, Dr. Hutnisak's available for more questions if you would like. Otherwise, I can let you know when Dr. Stewart arrives.
Yeah, thank you, Claude. I'll go ahead and ask the members if anyone else has any further questions, or if anybody from the audience has any questions. Okay, not seeing any hands raised. Oh, I hear somebody turn on the microphone. Okay, go ahead, Peggy.
Sorry, Jesse. I think we could probably move to season dates.
Yep, that was going to be my suggestion once we let everybody. I just wanted to, it seems like there's a little bit of lag time, so I'm going to give people extra time to put their hands up or try and speak, just with the extra lag. So I do believe, thank you so much, Dr. Hushmuzak. We really appreciate it, and we'll follow up if we have any other questions, but at this point I think we'll move on to season dates while we wait for Dr. Stewart to be available. So I guess I would start for item 4. Does anybody, do we want to open it up for discussion on any suggestions for season dates? Kit, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
And I see that Norm's hand is up. I think Norm had some ideas, and he's probably the most current fisherman in the group, so he had some ideas of what would work really well based on tides and such like that, and I believe his hand's up after me, so we'll let him talk.
Okay, very well. Go ahead, Norm. I see your hands up.
Okay, I'm going to try this again. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hear you.
Okay, I have not great internet service where I'm at here, so bear with me, and if I need to, I can get us into the chat window. I made a suggestion. I would like to see March 8th approximately as an opening date. And I just went back to, as a fisherman, back to the old standard of consulting the tide book. There's a pretty big couple of sets of tides in late February and early March, and starting about the 8th, those tides diminish, and we have a pretty solid week of pretty favorable tides for fishing, and that's what I'm basing my suggestion on. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. Did you have any suggestion for an end date?
Yes, I would like to see November 8th. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So March 8th to November 8th. I missed that last part. I apologize.
That is correct.
Miles, I've seen your hand go up back and forth. Would you like to speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps lowering my hand for some reason, but I could definitely get behind those dates. I'm not sure when the Boston Seafood Show is this year. I don't know how many people are going to be attending, but I know we've always taken that into consideration in the past. I also like the 8th as an opening date because it'll allow us to get some fish to the market, on a Saturday or earlier potentially. And I'm all for closing the season earlier than we did last year, just for reasons because I'm going to be very tired and I don't want to work over Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So I could completely support those dates that Norm put forth.
Okay, thank you very much, Miles. And just for general knowledge, the Seafood Expo will be March 13th through the 15th this year. So that would open before Boston, but not on the same weekend. So that could work out. Hey, Bruce, I see that you have your hand up. You have to, maybe the Secretariat could get him a microphone. I don't know if he can get his mic activated.
Yeah, looks like it's activated to him now. He just needs to turn it on himself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, I think the trend has been to longer opening seasons, not closing. I think there's a pretty significant element of the industry that would like it to open year round, the same as the Black Cod does in Canada. So I think worst case scenario, the same dates as last year. And if there's any mind to talk about longer, I think longer, the market and the fishing opportunity seems to support the longer season. So that's what I'd like to put forward. Thank you.
Very well. Thanks, Bruce. So we got two people with that. Peggy, go ahead.
I was curious, what was last year's dates? I know it was December 7th. Was it March 7th it opened?
March 6th to December 7th. Thanks.
Okay, Miles, I see you have your hand up as well. Go ahead.
Okay. I know from experience last year, once you get into late November and early December, your costs of getting fish fresh out of Alaska just, explode. We had ferries turned around on us. You couldn't get flights. You're paying a boat a premium price for fish that you think you can get to the fresh market, and the next thing you know, you can't. And just logistically, getting stuff out of Alaska in the winter is really, really tough. So, yeah, once again, I'd be for shutting the season down a little bit earlier than last year.
See,
Jesse, I'm just going to read a comment here from Nick from 7Cs. He's having issues with his headset. I think we should consider as long a season as we can do. While I'm not opposed to March 8th, it's a Tuesday, and historically we open on a Saturday at noon. Proposed March 5th, Saturday to December 5th. This will give a good amount of time for all user groups to get halibut quota out of the water. I think COVID is going to be here every year moving forward, and we cannot predict how COVID will impact us moving forward each year. I think a good idea is to give the most amount of flexibility as an industry. Yes, I agree it sucks working in December, but the volume of fish is so minimal and sporadic, it's not as big of an impact.
Thank you, Carl. Peggy, did you have something?
No, that's a remnant hand. I'll take it down.
Yeah, no. Okay, go ahead, Norm. Go ahead, Norm, you can speak.
Okay, it takes me a minute to unmute my mic, or I guess that's probably lag. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, here we go. I'm just going to counter the comments about the longer season. It's my interpretation that the push behind the season length increase is more of a minority than what was presented. I don't think there's a lot of people pushing for that, and certainly not processors. And now I'm kind of got my foot in the other shoe now. I'm coming at this as a processor, but I'm also a fisherman. And it's, I think that the big push behind this has nothing to do with halibut. It has everything to do with black cod and the amount of black cod that are being left in the water. And people want a chance to, as much of a chance to harvest that as they can. And I appreciate that. But there's a couple of components in this that are bothersome to me. I mean, besides the cost of trying to keep a plant open for an occasional long line delivery in December is tough. There's also, I've been a fisherman for a long time. There's also a safety concern when you put that closing date far into the winter months. you're increasing your risk. And people are pushing a December deadline and are probably out there trying to catch those fish when they shouldn't be. So it increase, so you increase your inherent which danger in an already risky business. And I just don't feel like this push has a lot to do with halibut. But and the issue is in the U.S. that you can't prosecute the black cod fishery separately. And I have a concern, and I discussed this earlier, is that you're going to have, if there's people throughout the option of fishing black cod separately, and the halibut move into the deep waters to spawn. We saw a presentation of, they know that, we know that, and I think that your interception rate will go up later on in the season, and we can't, it's against the law to shake halibut, so mortality becomes an issue.
Very well, thanks, Norm. I had a little bit of breakup throughout that. I don't know. Did everybody else able to hear him pretty clearly? Peggy?
There was a little bit of breakup on my end.
Yeah, I
as well.
didn't hear all, but I did hear something about it's against the law, and I just wanted to check on what he said was against the law.
If you want to try again, or maybe Peggy's question over.
Madam Chairman. Yes, Madam Chairman, if you can hear me. Maybe you can hear me now. Peggy, I was specifically speaking to interception of halibut in prosecuting the black cod fishery in the later months, and not being able to have a separate season.
I think I got that, Jesse. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Peggy. Thank you, Norm, for speaking. And then I believe I saw Bruce, if you'd like to speak, and then if you're not speaking, a little bit of feedback.
Sure. Can you hear me okay? Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So hard to tell who's coming through and who isn't. I understand that there's plants that didn't open at the beginning last year, and there's plants that closed before the closure date, and I think that's fine. I think the worst impact we had on our marketing was times when too much fish came in at one time. And there's a couple of weeks here in the year, maybe Thanksgiving and maybe July 4th, when the market softens up a bit. There's a couple times when a lot of fish tends to flow in, such as when at the first opening, and sometimes when southeast guys finish salmon and want to clean up their halibut. But I think that it worked great. We brought fish in late in November and early in December, and there wasn't a whole lot of fish on the market, and it was well received. I don't think because someone does or doesn't want to go fishing, or their logistics challenges come and go, that's a good reason for them not to participate. But I don't think it bothered anybody if fish came in outside of those times, and our market was happy to be supplied around a longer portion of the calendar. It worked really good for us. So I don't think Boston Seafood Show or Thanksgiving are reasons to affect what our fishing patterns are. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much, Bruce. Miles, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, thanks, Jesse. It is something to consider. Bruce mentioned it a little bit, but by November 1st, Yakutat was closed, Cordova was closed, Seward was closed, and it just, that's half the Gulf of Alaska right there. So having the season dates extended that long really doesn't even make a difference because these places aren't going to be open anyway. So I think, Norm's point about it being dangerous for fishermen, these guys are going to wait and then they're going to go at the last minute and they're going to get into trouble out there. So I think an early closure date, something in early to mid-November just makes more sense for me. And I think for us in general.
Thanks, Miles. Kit, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, it seems to me like when we were closing the season down early November, that more processors stayed open. As we pushed that date into early December, now processors were closing at the end of September and in the middle of October. And, so we made it so that the processors were actually closing earlier by extending the date out later, where if we found more of a compromise earlier in the season, it seemed like there was more support until that closure date.
That's a valid point. Thank you so much, Kit. Isaac, at one point I saw your hand go up. Did you want to speak? I guess not. Go ahead, Carl. I see your hands up.
Yeah, I just kind of want to support the sentiment there on, the volume of fish. Yes, it's not big, but the costs that are incurred, to get that smaller volume of fish definitely goes up, for the plants that up in Alaska that choose to close because there's not enough throughput to keep the people employed at those plants as the season drags out. And then, when it starts to get scratchy, even here in Canada to get smaller loads out of some of the ports, up in Prince Rupert and, just all the costs, go up because there's not a significant amount of volume that comes in because weather, kind of prohibits guys from going out and making longer trips as the season gets pushed out longer and the weather gets worse.
Okay, thanks, Carl. Tyler from Northport, I saw your hand was up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear ya.
Okay. Yeah, I put my hand on there for a second because I think I'm mostly just echoing what other people have said, but I'm all for extending the season, having it longer than it traditionally has been. I think, it's normally been November 7th to 14th range, and I just don't think that's enough time. I think for the most part, the fleet is going to be done by then. No one really plans to fish late into November, but the reality is people are having a tough time getting things done, and at times that extra time is needed. If I'm remembering right, last year in our presentation to the General Assembly, we made a note of we basically that we recommend the seasons be longer, but please acknowledge it's a challenge to keep plants open and they might not all be open type thing. I think that's something appropriate to do. I don't think it's necessarily right to cut the season short for fishermen just because this plant or that plant doesn't want to be open. So that's what I got to say.
Thank you very much, Tyler. It looks like Nick is trying to type something in the window, so I might just give him a minute to see if that pops up. Oh, here we go. So I'm getting some feedback. Maybe if everybody could mute themselves if they're not talking.
I'll read a statement here. I understand why the plants up in Alaska close early due to their own economic considerations. At Alaska Fish Factory in Homer, we closed in early November because it didn't make sense to stay open from a crew perspective. That being said, any halibut that is landed after the Alaskan window is actually economically good for the Alaskan fisherman and processor. This is fish that did not compete for market share, so it is a double benefit for the respective fishermen and processors. Seems that possibly Jesse's mic got dropped again there. Is there any sort of any other input? You're back.
Thanks, Carl. You kind of started where I was headed, so I guess, is there any other feedback from anybody?
Yeah, I just see Norm wrote in the chat. It is really hard to catch a halibut in most areas beyond October as the fish move out to the spawning grounds, and I maintain this is more about prosecuting the black cod fishery. However, in Alaska, the two are tied together.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you, Norm, for that statement. I can leave it open for another 10, 15 seconds in case there's somebody else who wants to jump in here or raise their hand. Yep, go ahead, Peggy.
I just asked my liaison in the conference board if they've gotten to season dates yet, and they're still keeping Ian busy. So they haven't. They're listening to Ian's presentation. I just wanted to let you know.
Thanks very much, Peggy. And there's something in the chat window, Lynn, from Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. Are you all going to talk about Area 2A directed commercial fishery open dates? Go ahead, Peggy.
I can say that that's not what we've normally done. It's been done by the IPHC Secretariat in the past, so I don't think there's a reason that we shouldn't weigh in if people have ideas about that. Maybe Lynn could elaborate a little what she's looking.
Yep, and I know Miles has got his hand up as well. And
I think for the halibut fishing south of Point Chehalis, it's I think it's the second Tuesday in June, and it's pretty much locked in, and then it's every 2 weeks after that for a 3-day fishery until they catch their quota. So it's pretty standardized, really. I don't know we could put something in here if we want, but I think the Secretariat will just do the second week in June on a Tuesday. So.
Thank you very much, Miles, for that. And I think Lynn also put something in the chat. She said 4th Tuesday in June, and she's typing. We were also, I guess, in a prep meeting told that those dates were not going to change for this year. So, and thanks, Lynn. She just said, I think that works for the 2A folks, so thank you. And Lynn, if you'd like to speak, we'd be happy to grant you mic access if you have something more to say. Very well. So unless if anybody else has more to add on 2A, I think we're good on that. Okay. Unless if people would like more discussion, I think at this point we're just waiting for someone to put forth the motion on season dates. Yeah, go ahead, Miles.
Yeah, I think I put forth a motion from March 8th opener to November 8th closure.
I second that.
Second that.
So the motion was put forth by Miles. I didn't catch who seconded that.
I did. This is Michael.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Michael. And I see that Peggy has. So go ahead, Peggy.
Sorry, that's a old hand.
Go ahead, Bruce.
I moved from March 6th to December 7th, same dates as last year.
So at this point, Bruce, we would either have to vote on the motion that's on the table, or you would want to make an amendment, and then we would have to ask if it's a friendly amendment. So I know not the best. Yeah, so Peggy might have to give us a little bit of direction on that. Yep.
You
So
got it.
go ahead, Peggy.
So if change either of those, we could just ask the maker of the motion and the seconder if they would allow for that to change.
I would not allow for that. Thank you.
Very well. Thanks, Miles. So, Bruce, I see you have your hand up. Okay. Does anybody want to speak to the motion before we put it forward to vote? Understood. Does not look like anybody has anything to say. So, I think on this we will take a visual vote. And so, just a reminder, you can either put agree, disagree, or raise hand, which will be abstain, and we will first do a vote on no proxies. So we'll do one full vote with the group that's present, and then we'll do a proxy vote once we've got that. So just to reiterate, the motion on the floor is for season opening dates to be March 8th and for it to remain open through November 8th. So just looks like we're waiting on just Norm to vote. I think I know how he wants to vote, but there we go, Norm. Thanks so much. So let us know, Secretariat, when you're ready for us to clear it out and go for proxies. Okay, it looks like you guys got the count. Are we good there?
If I can just interject for one moment. Sorry, this is Claude here. Is there? It seems to me like we've got on our list we have 18 eligible voters, 2 of which are proxies. So there should be 16 votes here, or there should be a couple abstentions.
I have 12 in favor, not 10.
Carl, did you count me and Carl at the top?
Nope, that's what's going on.
Very good.
There was some off the screen that we didn't capture. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Peggy for that.
So we're just capturing that, and then we'll put the hands down once we've captured it, and then we'll go for the proxy. And ready for.
Neil Young posted and
Okay, we've captured that with 12 regulars in favor, 4 against, 1 proxy in favor, 1 proxy abstained. Through the chair, Dr. Stewart is now available for this meeting if you guys are ready to move to that portion.
I'm sorry, Claude. Can you say that again? It did kick me off for just a second.
Sorry,
I did
it was Claude. Dr. Stewart is available to join us.
Lovely, perfect. Please allow him to come in.
Good afternoon. Hopefully my mic's working.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dr. Stewart. We can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear us okay?
I can, thank you.
Awesome. This is Jessie. We did have one question from one of our members, and I will go ahead and see if his mic is working. Norm, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Dr. Stewart, can you hear me? Hi. Yeah, I just had a question on your presentation, page, let's see, I think it's page 5, WPE, pounds per skate, and the graph shows an 11% increase. Yes, 11% increase in 2B and a 12% decrease in 2C. Being adjoining areas, I'm curious about if you can explain that difference, what the reasoning behind that might be.
Yes, thank you for the question. I guess I'll start by saying that we've been encouraging for some time people to consider the stock distribution at the level of the biological regions. And the reason for that is that we know that these fish are quite dynamic within the calendar year. And so where we count them in a particular year, particularly in some areas of the stock distribution, for example, right around the 2B and 2C border, is an area of high density on both sides of the border. And so it's quite possible that when we count these fish in the summer, they could be on one side or other of that border and yet be available to one or both of those fisheries during the remainder of the season. I don't have a specific answer for why we might have seen an increase in 2B and a decrease in 2C from 2020 to 2021, except to note that the distribution of these 2012 year class, which is driving much of the action that we see in this year's results, that distribution was quite patchy, not just among regions, but even down to smaller spatial scales. And so it could well be associated with that. One of the things I do want to do in answering that question, I'd like to call up a slide that I used at the interim meeting. It'll take me just a second to open that up. I believe, yeah. So I think that this might also be helpful to see how what we saw on the fishery independent setline survey compares with what was seen in the commercial fishery. And I do note that the commercial fishery in 2B also saw an increase from 2020 to 2021. Both gear types saw that increase. If I then go to regulatory area 2C, we saw a decrease both in the survey and in the fishery there. So this is certainly suggesting that it may be more to do with actual distribution of that year class than necessarily just an artifact of when and how the survey was conducted. But I think it's a fair question. Sorry, I don't have a more clear answer for you.
Yeah, it's okay. Thanks. The first thing that came to my mind is while you were talking about this is timing of the actual survey and how much impact that might have on it. I would just assume, I didn't go back and look at the survey dates. I would assume that the survey would just jump from Canada and follow into Alaska as the survey progressed. Is that how that happens?
Thanks. That's a good question. In fact, generally that's not how it happens. We usually have a different set of vessels or different vessels assigned to each of the charter regions, and we allow quite a bit of leeway for those vessels to piece in exactly when they're going to do these surveys. I'm sorry, I don't have the specific timing in front of me, but often within a regulatory area, we'll have one or more vessels begin early in the season, and then we'll piece in charter region by charter region until we're done. So my guess would be we actually had some sampling occurring at the same time in both of these areas, but I'm not sure which one would have necessarily finished first or second. We would, of course, love to have all of our sampling done in a very short time window across the entire coast and provide us with just a single snapshot. But logistically, that's just not feasible. So what we end up with is just having vessels sample opportunistically within that design window that we have from the beginning of June to the end of August. And it certainly does lead to some times when we may have a charter region sampled earlier or later than the year before. The challenge in interpreting that is that the fish are also doing different things in different years. So we might sample one area earlier than we did last year, but it could be better or worse depending on what the fish were doing, what the ocean conditions were doing. in that particular year. So I'm not aware of any particular timing issues or changes that would have necessarily affected this result from 2020 to 2021, though. I do believe we have some tools on our website that you can look a little bit further into the specific timing if you're interested.
Yeah, I would be. I don't need an answer for that right this minute. I guess my last question would be, discussing this topic, if it has any concern for you. It sounds to me like it does. It bears some more investigating. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for answering.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stewart, and thank you, Norm. Since we have you here, I'm going to open it up to the rest of the members and see if they don't have any other questions for you, Dr. Stewart. Very well. I'm not really seeing anybody with their hands up or.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Yeah, this is Bill.
Hey, Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed that the charter sector went substantially over on their allocated quota last year, and I was wondering if this year's quota was reduced by the amount that they went over last year in 3A.
Use the actual mortality that's estimated in the stock assessment. And so this year's results reflect the overages and underages that occurred across all fishery sectors. So as you correctly note, the charter fishery in both 2C and 3A were substantially over their limits based on the catch sharing plans in those areas. However, at the coastwide level, or at the aggregate level across all fishery sectors, we actually ended up below the projected mortality. So at the end of the day, the savings that were there at the end of the season, fish that were projected to have been caught and weren't, that is rolled up into this year's stock assessment. And I think it's one of the reasons why we've seen a slightly more optimistic result in the stock assessment both last year and this year, is that in 2020 and in 2021, we've come in below the amount of mortality that was projected. Essentially, the stock's been getting a bit of a break despite the overages in the recreational sector.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill. Is there anybody else that has questions for Dr. Stewart? Dr. Stewart, please bear with us. We've had some technical issues, so I like to give a long period of time for people to respond. Heather, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead. Oh, thanks, Carl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Dr. Stewart, or good afternoon, Dr. Stewart. Can you hear me okay? I'd like you to speak a little bit more about, I think it was towards the beginning of your presentation, and I do apologize for not having the slide number, where you talked about the bycatch computations in 4CDE. Could you go back to that slide? And you talked about how the differential between the 3-year average and the 1 year, the use of the 1 year, the one previous year? Yes.
Illustrates what you're getting at. So for CD and E is the green series. It's the IPHC regulatory area with the highest overall non-directed discard mortality. So it's the one visible there just below the total, comprising a fairly large fraction of the coastwide total. And as you can see, in the last 3 years, we have seen a 42% decrease since 2019 in the overall level of non-directed discard mortality. The decline has been somewhat smaller, specifically in IPHC regulatory area 4, C, D, and E, although it has declined pretty solidly there as well. And so you'll recall that the commission several years ago decided to use not the previous year's non-directed discard estimate in the projections for the upcoming year, but to use the 3-year average. And so what that means when we have a period like this with declining amounts of bycatch mortality going on is that what we're projecting forward is actually substantially larger than the value that was observed in 2021. So if I go back now to this slide, you can see that in 2021, the coastwide estimate for bycatch was 3.76 million pounds, but the 3-year average is 4.98. So just a little bit more than 1 million pounds more is being projected into 2022 than in 2021. However, I do think it's important to also step back and consider the changes across not just the halibut fisheries, but all of the non-halibut fisheries as well in the last several years. And I think it's a fair question to wonder whether the declines that we've seen in the last 2 years in particular are likely to persist into the future as these fisheries return to a more normal state after the challenges we've seen in the last couple of years. And so given that, I think maybe the 3-year average is not such a bad predictor, despite the fact that we have seen a clear trend in the last few years, just because of the uncertainty about how these non-halibut fisheries may change and or recover back toward levels that we've seen in previous years after the effects of the last 2 years hopefully are wearing off into 2022. Did that get at your question?
I wanted you to just, if I have the right understanding, what are you're saying then, Ian, that you think that with the potential for increased halibut abundance, that the bycatch numbers could go back up? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, thanks for the clarification. Fisheries. I guess my biggest concern is that we've seen several of these other fisheries have fairly reduced catches of their target species in recent years. We're of course in the Gulf, we're well aware that cod quotas have been down. There was a closure for Chinook salmon. I'm not aware of exactly the factors that have affected some of the Bering Sea fisheries, but I think that there's a potential for some of these target fisheries that do encounter halibut to increase in the target species that they're after, which could have an effect regardless of the abundance of halibut. So both of those are moving pieces, and they're both, of course, impossible to predict accurately. So I think we're left with the case that probably the 3-year average is a conservative approach looking forward rather than using the 2021 value and assuming that those conditions would persist into 2022.
Okay, can I have you go back to the previous slide a second? So the decline from 19 to 21 is pretty obvious. That 20 was also low. 19 was extraordinarily high, and I guess that high in 20, I guess that's self-explanatory, but I just wanted to see it again. Um, that's the case, right? That's really driving it, that high point in 2019, driving the average.
Yes. I'm sorry, my audio cut out a little bit there, but yes, since we're using a 3-year average,
Okay. So can you remind me what the intent of the agreement was for the 3-year average? Obviously, the group I work for was one of the people that asked for it because of the, sort of volatility of the bycatch numbers. It was understood at that time, I believe, just to refresh my memory and everybody else's, that was anticipated that it would last for 3 years and then the agreement would be reviewed, I guess, in 2023.
to our projections. This is, of course, slightly problematic when we have a case, as we see here, of more or less continuous decline in bycatch. That means that we are generally projecting over the last few years, we're generally projecting more into the future than was actually observed in the most recent year. Although, as you note, that certainly wasn't the case over that time period going from 2018 to 2019. I believe that this particular choice to use the 3-year average of bycatch was not linked to the rest of the interim management procedure. This was a separate decision made by the commission, and I'm not aware that it had an expiration date. So I'm under the assumption that the commission would choose to use this 3-year average until they decide otherwise. Noting that the other options that are on the table would be the previous year's bycatch estimate, which is what we used for a number of years, certainly through from 2012 through at least 2016 or 17. I'm sorry, I don't recall exactly which year we made this change. And then another alternative that's been considered is using the full regulatory bycatch. So essentially planning for the contingency that all of the non-halibut fisheries catch all of their halibut bycatch that's legally available to them. And when the commission has investigated those results, they find that that is not a suitable outcome. Those values are high enough that we generally do not have TCEY left over in one or more IPHC regulatory areas. So the commission instead has opted to use something more like the usage rather than the total allowable limit. I will note that the mortality projection tool has a selection bar in there, and it can be toggled between all 3 of those choices. Last year, the 3-year average or the full regulatory bycatch, to compare how those tables would look under each of those 3 scenarios.
No, okay, perfect. So thank you, Ian. So you believe then that that decision on the 3-year averaging versus the previous year is an annual decision that can be made by the commissioners?
It expires.
Okay, thanks. My colleague, Dr. Hicks, has just reminded me that that is part of the expiring component as well. I guess I hadn't looked back at that recently.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to. Okay, that was my understanding, but I just wanted to have some clarity on that. Thank you, Dr. Hicks. Thanks, Dr. Steele.
If I can jump in real quick, it's just paragraph 97E of the annual meeting report 096. And it's separate paragraph from the other agreements, but paragraph E states the use of a rolling 3-year average for projecting non-directed fishery discard mortality by IPHC regulatory area. This is also intended to apply for a period of 2020 to 2022.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for that. Thanks for the clarifying info there. Madam Chair, those were my questions.
So, Peggy?
Thank you. I had just a quick question for Dr. Stewart on this slide. It seems to me, looking at the ups and downs, just looking at the ups and downs, if we wanted to smooth or use an average, a 3-year would be too short because we would want that to be happening on the ascent and not on the descent for bycatch, with an ultimate outcome of more quota available for the directed fleet. And you going back, it's almost every 3 years that there is an inflection. So can you shed any light why they thought 3 years rather than 6 or 5 or 7?
We apply any kind of an average over time, because this is going down over the whole time period, we are going to be generally overestimating the amount of bycatch. But that said, it was unclear at the time, and I think this was actually, now that I'm recalling, I think it was 2019, the year of that increase, that this was implemented, that it wasn't clear that that increase was going to persist in the future. And so the choice to use 3 years was an attempt to smooth out what was perceived as potentially a spike, which it does appear that it was in retrospect. I think the important thing is that we use the actual values in the stock assessment. And so even though we have this choice to make about how the projections are going to be done, the actual mortality is what's used in the analysis. And so at the end of the day, our scientific advice coming out of the stock assessment doesn't depend on this choice. This is merely a management tool to best set aside enough component of that TCEY in order to make sure that we don't have a persistent overage at the aggregate of all the fishery components.
Thank you, Dr. Are the reference numbers that you gave us earlier calculated using only last year's usage?
Sorry if I wasn't clear. So the reference, the stock assessment uses the actual mortality for everything up to the beginning of 2022. But then when we make the projection into next year, we do use this 3-year average. And
that's
yes, but then just to close the loop, when I do next year,
Thank you. That's helpful.
Thank you very much, Peggy, and thank you, Dr. Stewart. I'll leave the floor open for a couple more questions here. We can wait a little bit longer and see if anybody wants to step in. Okay, not seeing any hands or nobody
I
jumping
see
up.
Claude also just chimed in and said that Dr. Hicks is available as well if any members have any questions for him directly.
Awesome. Oh, thanks for that, Carl. I believe at this time, Dr. Stewart, we don't have any more questions for you, but maybe we'll reach out if we end up needing your assistance. Very well. Thank you again so much for your time and answering all our questions. I'll open it back up to the group in case, I know initially nobody had any questions for Dr. Hicks, but I'll give everybody a minute or so to see if they've come up with some questions for Dr. Hicks. Okay, very well. It doesn't look like anybody has anything. I realize we've now made it through most of the meeting without any breaks, so I guess I'd want to just pose the question to the group and kind of see where they see the rest of this afternoon going. According to the agenda, we would move into number 5, which is mortality limits. I don't, I'd like to hear how the members feel about moving into that discussion now. I believe we're scheduled to end at 5 tonight. I don't know how much longer we can keep the Secretariat past that. But anyway, open to suggestions. I hate to bug everybody, but I want to see, can someone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Jesse.
Okay, Carl. So just not a lot of feedback. Gotcha.
No problem.
Oh, geez. Peggy, I saw you don't take off your mic if you don't want to talk. I saw you take off your mic.
Never know what's going to happen in the office. There might be a loud bang. I was just looking at the total reference 41.22 and curious if anyone on the PAB feels like that's a place to start. Do we want to keep it around that, or do we feel like the reference is too high, too low? Maybe that would be a place to start.
I have Carl has his hand up, and then I see that Kit will be after him.
So Peggy, it was is that the F43 reference you're speaking of with the 41?
Sorry, yes, that is. I was just going to try to pull it up. I think it's one of the slides in Ian's, it's in the 50s, maybe 52, 53 or something, as sort of a starting place. And good point. We could just talk about the fishing intensity if we're good with 43 or if we want something different.
Yeah. Do you have the slide number specifically, Peggy, that the Secretariat could pull up on the screen for everyone to see?
Yep, I'm going to get it here in a
presentation. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kit, will they pull that up? Did you have something to add to that?
No, that was my question, whether, just to confirm, that was an F43 harvest level. I think there is a slide that shows the F46 and the F43 harvest levels, so you can see that total amount, just not how it's distributed.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Oh, slide 55. That's what I thought it was. And I don't know if you can advance that, but there is an overlay on that shows the 46 and the 43 in his presentation. in blue on the right.
I believe that's the one.
Yep, that looks great.
Mm-hmm.
That shows regions. We want to get regulatory areas. Might be able to get both on this screen. So slide 56 is the regulatory areas. If people wanted to refer to both of them, we could put one up on this screen and then just look at the others on our computer.
Thanks, Peggy. Kit's got his hand up, so go ahead, Kit.
Yeah, I think one thing to note is on that previous slide that showed that we were operating under an F46 through 2020, I believe, and then 2021 was F43. But I believe that with what was left in the water, we actually harvested out at an F46 level. So for me, I mean, I don't think we've accessed the F43 yet, and so I would be okay with an F43 of the 41.22 total pounds. Now how that gets distributed, I'm very conflicted with.
Thanks, Kit. Yeah, please go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I think I agree with the F43 number that Dr. Stewart's proposed.
Yep, Miles, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would also agree with Kit, Carl, and Dr. Stewart. F43 seems like a very nice number.
For those of you that can't see, Heather Scott also a little thumbs up, which is in agreement.
And it seems like Norm from Seafood Producers Co-op is on board with F43 as well. So do we want to put a motion on the floor for the voting of the F43 and then open the, as the first step, and then get into discussion on the breakdown of the areas?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Carl. Maybe I guess I'm trying to get the agenda up. Sorry, everybody, it's kind of hard to see. So mortality limits F.1, or sorry, 5.1 would be coastwide perspective. So I believe we can just vote on that. Peggy or the Secretariat can correct me if I'm wrong, but we could vote on that as the coastwide perspective.
Yep, that sounds good. We could just put our thumbs up too.
Sure, I think we just need somebody to put a motion forward, correct?
Yeah, let me do that. I move that we adopt fishing intensity F43 as a first step in determining catch limits.
I will second.
Heather, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to second it. I didn't didn't get the button pushed fast enough.
Very well, thank you. So while we get this typed up, so that was a motion by Peggy and seconded by Norm, I believe. Heather, you,
Sorry, I was struggling to get the note up, but does that capture what you were looking for?
I believe that covers it, but I'll go ahead and, is that good for everybody else?
Yes, that's good.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and move forward with the vote. Just as a reminder, thumbs up for approve, thumbs down for disagree, and then if you would like to abstain, just raise your hand. And I'll go ahead and read the motion. So this would be a motion for 5.1. From a coastwide perspective, the PAB supports a TCEY of 41.22 million pounds, equivalent to an F43 fishing intensity. Thanks, Cloud. So go ahead and we'll let everybody vote. So I think we're waiting on just a few more people. So Norm and then Steve, if you guys could indicate where you're at. We'll give Steve about 10 more seconds and then.
I see Norm in the chat, yes. Oh, but he voted, so perfect. Sorry.
Perfect. No, thanks, Carl. That's great. I think if the Secretariat is prepared to take account, I think we're good. I only got 13, but maybe I'm miscounting.
I see Peter Pan hasn't voted.
Should be one other.
And then Isaac's a little bit lower in the list.
Oh, Isaac and Tim are both. If I could ask the
Two that are
Secretary.
lower down, yeah.
Yeah, can we get those moved back up? If that'd be.
Tim.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. And thanks. Yeah, Carl. I wonder if maybe Steve stepped out.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if everybody wants to clear their vote, and then we can go move forward with the proxy vote.
I don't know if the Secretariat lowered the hands.
Sorry, I apologize. They had not been lowered yet. We were still trying to grab a screenshot
all
of
good.
that.
If the Secretariat just wants to let us know when they're ready, then we can ask for the proxy vote.
Okay, it looks like we're ready to go again. And if you can just give us guidance on whether we leave Peter Pan as abstained on that one, or we just have a one count lower vote.
I believe on that we would just go one count lower because there was no indication either way. Thanks, Claude. And so then go ahead on the proxies, Kit. I see you have your vote up, and then thanks, Carl.
Okay, so we're good with that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. So the motion has passed from a coastwide perspective. The PAB recommends an F43. To move on to 5.2, this would be, which I will believe, this will be the regulatory area perspectives. So I believe we've got kind of a representation of that, of what that would look like if we went with no adjustments as is, but I'm sure people would like to speak to that. So Kit, I see your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I guess we should mention that that was unanimously passed, which is nice. So I don't really know where to start. It's complicated, but you know, we have an agreement in place that goes through this year that was made several years back. That agreement's going to stand, I assume, unless that can be turned over, but that's going to stand. So then we have to think in the future. Our redistribution of this, however Alaska wants to redistribute it. I've heard several people talk in the last 2 days about let's stick with the science, let's stick with the science in preparation for next year if we're going to want to be as well as all of the Alaska areas to stick with the science. Well, I don't know. I mean, I agree with the science for sure, but then I get a little conflicted because we have something like a 57% potential increase in one regulatory area, 3B, that, I mean, I don't think that would be responsible to jump that much. So then where do we stop with sticking with the science? So there's that part of it. And then again, if next year we all get together and we do not come to an agreement between the two countries and everything comes to a standstill, I believe it's written that we default to this year's decision, and I don't know what that looks like. And so I think that we have to take into account that there may not be an agreement for next year, and that this year's agreement could end up being the next 2 years agreement. So I'm not sure what I think of that. I just wanted to put those thoughts out there and maybe get an idea of what other people are thinking about.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kit. Heather, go ahead. I see your hands up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Kit, that was very well put, succinct, and I agree with that represents what we've been hearing. I don't really want to speculate about what it would look like if we couldn't reach an agreement with the Canadians a year from now. And I'm hoping that, you know, maybe people who haven't been involved thus far would be involved at that point. I feel as though we're about the 3B big jump, but you're correct about the square that was sticking with it. Speaking to 4CDE, which is what I imagine everybody's kind of figured out that this question, Dr. Stewart, because of that high bycatch in 2019, followed by way lower years of bycatch, has created a situation where the 3-year rolling average of what might be presumed in this season, it's raised it considerably from what it would be if we just took the 2021 bycatch as that presumption. And so what we've been kicking around in 4CDE and have talked to others about is reverting to having the 2021 number be taken off by to arrive at the FCEY for 4CDE. Now that does not affect the science behind the TCEY computations. So it's a completely different issue than changing, the TCEYs and going beyond the sort of the reference levels. So I'll just introduce that concept as something that we have been discussing. There are also other concepts that have been moving around in the stakeholder groups at the conference board level and others. And I think, some of those will probably come out in the ongoing discussions. There have been suggestions that 3B not be going up as high as it is projected here to go up, the enormous jump, that jump be sort of modified by half or some other percentage so that it doesn't take that big jump all in one, and that increase that is proposed here go elsewhere, coastwide, on the American side. So those are some of the thoughts that have been circulating by us and by other groups.
Thank you, Heather. Peggy, go ahead. I see your hands up.
Heather, do you have a number for 4CDE with using just 1 year of bycatch?
Madam Chair, Peggy, I'm not going to put numbers on the table right now. I'm just kind of talking conceptually, as others have been. I'm not prepared to put numbers on the table right now. I just wanted to kind of introduce the concept.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Heather. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Yeah,
Peggy,
go ahead.
Your hand up.
Oh, sorry, Carl. I believe Peggy and Heather may be residual hands, so I'm going to move on to Miles. And if you, Peggy or Heather, if you'd like to speak again, keep your hand up and we'll circle back. So go ahead, Miles.
Okay, thank you. I think I would just like to add the comment that I would support the thought behind Kit's idea, especially if we do go back to status quo for next year. That really big bump for 3B could be dangerous. I think it was before my time, but they said they gave 3B a large quota in the past, and it quickly depleted the resource out there. So I'm in favor of giving them a nice increase, but certainly not as big as it is. And if that's the case, then maybe we should redistribute it possibly to 2C a little bit. I think they're getting whacked pretty good. But I'd be open to other ideas on that. But I think the main point of increasing 3B but not at this level is something I'd be in favor of.
Great, thanks, Miles. Norm, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Okay, let's see if my microphone works here. Looks like it is. First of all, I'll commend Kip on his comments, and I pretty well agree with his stance. To me, it feels like this process, we had the pre-IPHC stakeholders meeting. I heard a lot of sentiment about developing a process where we did not have to go through this area by area dogfight. And I'm wholeheartedly behind that, what that process looks like. I'm not sure. I had talked to some of my contacts about the idea of a percentage base, going back, over the over a decade or 2 decades or whatever it was, and setting some sort of a area by area percentage, yeah, as a fixed percentage. It's problematic. One of the things that throws a big wrinkle in that is the interim agreement really doesn't doesn't really fairly treat the rest of the areas, especially Area 2C, and would throw a big wrinkle in that. And I don't know how you would take that out of the picture, other than to go back and look at staff's recommendations over those years. So on the 3B, we don't have a dog in that fight particularly, but as far as watching over the resource, I think that 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 jump reflects a 1 year survey result, and I think that they're overreacting in that increase, and I would like to see them get a bump, but I would tone that down a little bit, maybe to more like a 25 or 30%. That would be my recommendation. And going back to the 2C, I would recommend a status quo. And my reasons for that is, we have the highest CPUE of all areas currently. We have seen a decrease, but I think that a lot of that has to do with the influx of that 2012 year class. And I think in the interim agreement again is challenging for two. We are the only area 2 that is set on survey abundance, and it's challenging for us to get hammered by that. We also have the highest number of commercial and charter participants. So that, whatever drop there may be has a significant impact over a wide range of participants. And at the end of the conversation, in Dr. Stewart's presentation, the baseline levels have been pretty flat. Seems to be no reason for being alarmed and jumping out there for big quota reductions in any area. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Norm. Kit, I see you have your hand up again.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, Miles had it right. So we do this increase in 3B, and we feel like we need to be responsible for this year. And like we said, if for some reason there's no agreement next year and we go status quo, and we'll sit and say the surveys show an even more increase in 3B, that's going to take even more fish off the table for potential harvesters over the next 2 years. But just as important as losing that fish in 3B because you can't harvest it because it was increased, the 2B, the surveys are showing more of a downward trend. And if we slide 1 million pounds of that 3B over into 2B, or not 2B, 2C, and that 2C is, you want to be status quo from last year, that's adding almost 1 million pounds to what is recommended using this method, the F43. So then next year we go status quo because we can't come to an agreement, and that goes down even further, then we're going to be over harvesting that even more. And so that's the things that I want us to kind of pay attention to. I'm not saying that there's a solution, and ultimately we want to know, or we would love to be secure that we are going to come to a solution for next year. I think that the group that we work with in the PAB have been pretty level-headed, and I feel like we can work this out, and obviously we're all going to strive to keep an international agreement and make this work. And so I'm hoping that we can settle on something this year without necessarily having to take that in consideration, but I still think it's important to just have in the back of our minds.
I think it's great. It's a great thing to have on our minds in terms of what we decide on this year could be something that we see for more than just 1 year. I think that's a great point. I guess I'd be curious to hear. I know the Canadian, that number is fairly set. I don't know if anybody has anything to speak from the Canadian side, either just open opinion on what we're speaking about in the Alaska areas, or if you guys have some input just on. Yes, please, go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I think just, we support, from the Canadian side, that the F43 number. I mean, we honor, same as last year, we honor the agreement that's been put forth, which is the last year. We'll see what ends up getting negotiated going forward, but as far as our number is sort of locked in for this year. But yeah, I can understand the sentiment with some of the other people are saying with the 3A jump, and maybe some of that fish should be redistributed.
Thank you very much, Carl. Yeah, go ahead, Peggy.
I have a question for the group. Is anyone interested in at least listing the couple of different proposals that have come from Alaska?
Sorry, Peggy, do you mean like getting a note put up so we can list what we would have per area?
Yeah,
Like
that's kind of
the
what
suggested pound per area?
Yeah, that's what I'm taking notes here just made a grid on a piece of paper, and I've got the reference number, that's the blue line here, and last year's, and some notes on 4CDE from Heather as she described it. And then there were two proposals that were discussed. I don't know, I think some folks here know what they were, and I'm looking at them right now. One is using starting with the fishery intensity 4122, and then just applying the 032 relative harvest rate from each regulatory area and coming up with numbers. And then a second proposal was to keep what we have this year, what we had last year, the status quo on all of the regulatory areas except a very small change in 3A, a small increase in 2B, a small increase in 3B, a large increase in 3B, a small increase in 4A, and then 4B gets the same increase as 3B. And it all adds up to the same amount in 4CDE, and that all adds up to 41.22. Just to compare numbers.
Yeah, I definitely feel like if people, like in your example, if you would just like to give those numbers to, I think we can get it up on there's a note so we can get up those numbers, or I see that Heather also has her hand up, so she might have something to add there. But Peggy, if you want to put those numbers into the chat, maybe we can just copy paste those into the notes that Cloud has got in front of us, or maybe he already has them, but I'll let Heather speak as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a couple questions. One is, in the past, I think we've been able to members have been able to put proposed numbers before the rest of the group. I can't remember whether we did that last year in a virtual setting or not, but I think it would be really helpful if there was some way that the screen could be shared by members who might have a proposal of some kind so that everyone can see it. Maybe there is a system that's already being put in place where people can do that. That's my first question.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Peggy.
I agree with that, and I think that might be a better way to start out with. And what we've done in the past is just ask someone in the PAB who is from 2A to make a comment on what they would like for that area, and then just go through the regulatory areas, having folks who have plants in those areas make some suggestions, and then we can populate that table that Cloud just put up in doing that.
Sorry, I'm a little confused. I think what Heather was saying is that we, for example, could give her access and she could put up the numbers that she believes, or that she would like to suggest, which I guess let's start with that question first. I'm assuming, Heather, that was your question, right?
It was my question, but on a much more general level. I'm not, not me, but whoever.
Sure. No, I'm not. I won't put you on the spot quite yet. I'm just going to ask the secretary. We'll start with that, and I do not believe. I'll ask the secretariat if we are able to give members the ability to share screens.
Yes, through the chair. So I think the sharing of the screen would need to go through the chair or vice chair. They could share just a simple spreadsheet, and they could populate it as dictated by your.
That would work.
Okay, great. Or if you wanted to email it to me, if somebody has something and you just want to email it to me, and then I can share that also.
Yeah, I think that was what we did last year, maybe. Sure. So,
yeah.
And then I have a comment. If,
yes, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that in the past we've kind of talked about, and not that I'm stuck on the past because I haven't been around long enough to be, but I feel as though in other meetings we've had some of these concepts put on the table, maybe some even members proposed, and then we have either gone home for the night or gone to some of the other regulatory proposals and then come back to the numbers towards the end. And it seems like we're pushing the end of the day here, that might be a good model. That maybe if people want to put up some numbers for people to think about, that might be workable. And then we could all think about it overnight and be ready to get down to it tomorrow. Just a thought.
No, I appreciate that, Heather, and I agree. I think I probably am not prepared to vote on that tonight, and I know it's also nice for us to be able to speak to our counterparts at the conference board as well. So I do believe that as long as all the members agree, that we'll probably vote on this at some point tomorrow after there's more discussion. I'm just going to note that in the chat, Miles has introduced some numbers. I don't know, Cloud, if you want to we can go ahead and put those in the notes if people want to look at those numbers, and we can let Miles speak to those numbers and maybe where they came from. I also see that Kit has his hand up. I'm not sure if Norm, Peggy, and Heather are still raising their hands, or if I guess I'm going to default to Kit since he was the most recent one, but if somebody wants to speak, just put your hand up, please.
Yeah, I was just looking at Miles' numbers, and I thought he said status quo on the 2C, so I just was having him check that 2C number.
Very well. And Miles, would you? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Carl.
I was just there. I'll let.
Did I messed that up on 2C? I thought I'm looking at 2021 was 5.16. Am I wrong there?
Yeah, that wasn't the adopted. The adopted one's down below 5.8.
Okay. All right, then I would just, so what I did is I basically, to get to the status quo for 2C, I just deducted it from the increase from 3B. So that'd be just the only difference there. If that makes sense to people.
Yeah, so that adopted, so the 2C number should be 5.80. And then that would put the 3B number at 4.06, I think. And then
Perfect.
that should equal out.
Yeah,
although the 4C, the 4C, D, and E number, I have a 3.98 down. So I have 1.65 for 2A, 7.56 for 2B. Those are set. 5.8 would have been the 2C adopted number, and then 14.19 increases the 3A just a little bit. The 3B would come out to 4.06. The 4B would be 1.8, and the 4CDE is 3.98.
Does that equal
And
the
then
41? Go ahead.
I think that equals the 41.22.
Yeah, I like it. I was actually, my numbers, I kind of felt 3B was still a little too high, so this would make me even happier or more comfortable with the numbers.
Yeah, so what's showing on the screen, the 4C, D, E, and E number could go to 3.98, and then if somebody could do the math to see if that comes out.
I'm working on the math.
Those are the numbers I have.
Madam Chair.
Yes, please, Heather, go ahead.
Thank you. I did have my hand raised, but I see that Kit corrected the 4CDE number for me. I appreciate that.
Now, Heather, you're speaking for 4CDE in a lot of regards, and is that ballpark number, or what do you feel about that number?
Yeah, the 3.98 was last year's, and if we, again, our situation is much more driven by the bycatch number than most of the others, or all the others. So if we had TCEY of 3.98, we would just be slightly above the status quo FCEY from 2021. So 3.98 looks fine. But in that regard. And that is, if I may.
Through the chair, Heather, did I capture that right? It's just shy of.
It is just, I think it's just above the status quo, but I'd want to check the numbers again with the bycatch. This is assuming that averaging of bycatch over the last 3 years is still in place. The 3.98 would put us just a bit above status quo FCEY, keeping the averaging in. Assuming the bycatch is using the 3-year rolling average, not assuming the bycatch. I don't know what assuming bycatch same means. Bycatch process, computation process.
So if I could, this is Kit, if I could speak to what I feel about this.
Oh, please, yes, go ahead, Kit.
And I agree, it's late in the day, so it's really good to see these numbers, and we can ponder them, and we can talk to our conference board connections and all that kind of stuff. But, again, if we were just putting it out for this year, this gives TC that little extra that they feel like kind of gets scooped away from them. It keeps all of those users to a point where they're, able to survive. It seems like it's going to do well, or it's going to be okay for 4C, D, and E. 3B, it holds them, and I believe it's about a 30% increase compared to the status quo from last year. And at some point there's research out there or survey data that says a 57% increase was what was seen. I think that's irresponsible. I did see part of that big increase in 3B, and it was quickly wiped away. So I think that those guys deserve to get some benefit. However, we still need to be responsible. So, you know, so here we are. I like these numbers for this year. If this is what happens and we go to status quo for next year, then are these numbers acceptable? And that's just the only thing that I can't really get straight in my head.
Madam Chair?
Yes, please, Peggy, go ahead.
Probably because we don't know what the stock assessment's going to be. I'm with you, Kit. I can't get it straight in my head either. If it does increase, then oops, too bad for if we can't make an agreement with if both countries can't make an agreement with each other. But the
one thing I may say is that I think that I understand that if we can't come to an agreement and we go to status quo, we have the ability to be more conservative. So in the case of, say, 2C, if it's on a downward trend this year and next year it's even more downward trend, we can be more conservative and make that choice to come down on the quota. But in the case of 3B, where it's on an upward trend, and say we don't, we see 2 years of that upward trend, and we're not able to increase and give those people the benefit, then I don't think we'll have that ability. So really, it's kind of a 3B issue, I think, if I understand that right. But we'd have to confirm that those would be the rules.
I am not certain that it isn't coast-wide total. We can't go over coast-wide. That would be my only question. I do have another small question on this one, and it's with Claude's very helpful notes. Someone was saying it's a bit over status quo, the 3.98. That was the adopted TCEY last year and for CDE. So am I missing something?
Madam Chair?
Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
My understanding is that, yes, it is the status quo in terms of the adopted TCEY, where you could see it right below the extra block there. But I think that when you do the computations with the bycatch removals, the FCEY is what we're most interested in, even though we only operate in TCEY country now. FCEY is what we are looking at. And I believe this is either right at or slightly above the status quo for the FCEY.
Applying the calculation for the removals of the projected bycatch?
Correct.
So that would be 3.15. That's the reference point for 2022.
That is the TCEY.
That's correct. Okay.
So in order to get to the somewhat closer to the status quo in FCEY, you would need to raise the TCEY that much from the reference point for 2022. You know, when we next talk about this, Madam Chair and others, I can provide a calculation that I can email to you so that it can be shown on the screen so people can understand it more clearly. Perhaps that might be helpful.
Yeah, Heather, why don't, and maybe that's something that we can start, we could do it tonight if you want, or we can, if you want to prepare that this evening and then email it to me by tomorrow morning. It's something that we can look at, you know, first thing tomorrow.
Yes,
okay.
That's what I'll do. It's prepared, but I'd have to put my hands on it, get the preparer guy to approve it and everything. I couldn't pull that off in the next 10 minutes or so.
Yeah,
Heather, does
no problem.
7 help? Because it shows the extra 2 million pounds that is taken by the bycatch.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Does slide 57 help? The total well, let's see, how does it go?
Peggy, at this point, I may let Miles speak to the numbers, and then just because we're kind of creeping up on time, and it sounds like Carl has a meeting right at 5. So I'm not trying to cut anybody off, but I would like Miles to speak to his point on the numbers, and then we can circle back to Heather if that's okay with everybody.
Absolutely.
So I actually was just thinking about something a little bit different. And if we do go back to status quo for next year, it's also my understanding that the agreements we have for 2A and 2B are expiring at the end of this year. So where does that leave those if we fail to reach an agreement through the IPHC next year? Does Canada still get its percentage, and does 2A still get its 1.65? We know.
My understanding is that it's the last
agreed upon agreement.
yeah, the
I'm just
last
wondering if,
adopted by the commission before the negotiations broke down.
so then we would basically keep 2A and 2B the same again for next year. I mean, everything would just stay the same, even though those are expiring.
Yes, that's my understanding.
So it would default to 2021. It's not like it would default to 2018 before the interim agreement was decided.
So
adopted.
Okay, so it wouldn't technically expire then, I guess. I'm not sure if that's which one supersedes the other one.
I was agreeing with your question. Sorry, Miles. I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe Peggy has it.
If there's no agreement, in the rare case of both parties leaving the negotiation table with no agreement, then the very last adopted numbers are used. How they got there, or if their separate agreement is expiring, those would be the numbers that would still be in place.
Okay, well, speaking to these numbers that we've kind of come up with as a group, we don't know what the survey is going to show next year, so we don't know really what that's going to look like. But we are, trying to mitigate an over supply of fish to 3B. We've reduced it nicely, but still give them a good increase. So I think we're doing our best to, control something that we don't have a lot of control over. So I'm feeling as comfortable as I can with these numbers, I think. If anybody has any other ways they would like to tweak them, I'd be open to it. But for now, I'm feeling as confident as I can with not knowing as much, as I need to know to make next year's decisions.
Okay, thank you so much, Miles. Does anybody else, just so everybody notes, Norm replied to the group down in the chat and says, I support this proposal as well. So Heather, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. Hi again. I just wanted to suggest that we may have need of more information about what happens without an agreement in 2023. So I would like to hear kind of an official, interpretation of what would happen in that case, just so we don't kind of continue to speculate. I think that would be useful before we go anywhere else.
Because it'd be interesting if we could renegotiate something, and we did oversupply 3B by too much, then we would be able to fix it other ways. But yeah, so I'd like an official statement, I suppose.
Yeah, I think maybe like first thing tomorrow morning would be useful, and then we take this up again, and having talked it over the evening and so on.
Sure, and I would just note, Dr. Wilson is actually here, so I don't know if he can speak to that right now, or I can follow up and then clarify for the group first thing tomorrow morning. I suppose we are fairly close to 5.
Sure, thank you. Through the chair, assuming you can hear me okay. Yes, should there be no agreement on mortality limits, those that are currently in the fishery regulations simply roll over to the following year. Nothing else would need to be done. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Just to clarify, that would mean it would default in 2023. Let's say we're talking about 2023, it would default to the numbers that we decide on in 2022.
That's correct. And in terms of the regulations themselves, just roll over. And so I just want to make that clear. So anything in the regulations relating to the mortality limits will simply roll over from this year to, well, from last year to this year. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Wilson. We have a series of questions, so we'll start. Go ahead, Miles. I see your hand is up.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Dr. Wilson. So even with the expiration of the agreements we have for 2C and 2B, we would still do the status quo of 2022, even though those agreements expire in 2023, if we can't reach an agreement through the IPHC.
In terms of, again, and maybe I'm being a stickler for the fishery regulations, so while the agreement expires, the fishery regulations that contain the agreement, the mortality limits for 2021 simply roll over to the next year if they are not amended. And so there's a, I think that's relatively clear for the US, and then also noting how Canada implements the mortality limits is slightly different. But the IPHC fishery regulations for the mortality limits would simply roll over from 2021 to 2022 as already published.
Okay, thank you.
Heather, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. So that, and this just came up in previous, country by country, regulatory area by regulatory area. I just wanted to make sure that's clarified.
Yeah, apologies through the chair. I wasn't able to hear the question. I think there was some vigorous typing. Thank you.
Okay, I'll say it again. Can you hear me now, Dr. Wilson?
Yes.
So it was just brought up in previous discussion. Somebody was thinking maybe, well, I don't know what the question was, but it isn't country by country in the regulations that you're referring to that would roll over. It's regulatory area limits that's in the regulation. Is that correct?
That's
okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Kit, please go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Wilson, through the chair. I seem to recall some language that said that if we don't come to agreement, then it goes status quo, but there is an opportunity to reduce the quota if we feel it necessary. And then the question was that reduced quota area by area, or would that be reduced the total TCEY?
Yes, thank you for the question through the chair. So you're correct, the contracting parties may implement more restrictive measures, and obviously you're talking about mortality limits in this case. Noting that those mortality limits are by regulatory area, you would need to stay within those limits by those areas. So it would either be as per 2021 or more restrictive. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. I will note that Kurt Iverson has also made a note here over in the chat, and so I'm going to go ahead and read that really quickly. If no agreement is reached, Dr. Wilson is perfectly correct. The existing regs would roll over. However, the contracting parties would still retain the authority to implement regulations that are no more restrictive. That is essentially what occurred in 2018. And Peggy says, thanks, Kurt. So, Kit, do you have a follow-up question on that? Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Wilson, thank you so much for that clarification, and Kurt, you as well. We really appreciate the input. At this point, unless if anybody has anything else, I'll give maybe 20 seconds for somebody to raise their hand before, in case somebody has something to add.
Real quick, the conference board just approved March 6th to December 7th season dates. All I had.
Very good. Thanks so much, Peggy.
I think I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Good.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
That was
good morning.
tough.
Oh, can somebody pick those numbers up and email them out, maybe?
Yeah, here, I'll copy paste them.
Excellent. Thank you, Jesse.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. We'd reconvene at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Thank you.
And that's Pacific time, right?
Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
And I must have an old agenda. And so when are we going to discuss the rules and regulations? There was some issue with that, right?
Yeah, so rules and procedures kit will come up. It's like after we've already made a decision on mortality limits and then fishery regulation proposals. So it's item 7.
Okay, and that was determining rules and procedures for 2023's PAB meeting, or is it obviously is not for this meeting?
Correct, yeah. So it would be the rules of procedure, I think not just 2023, but sort of moving forward
after 2022. Okay. All right.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah. And if you need copies of that, just shoot me an email or reach. I know Peggy has some of that stuff too, so we can resend it out.
Yeah, I guess I didn't get the most current PAB agenda, and then I don't think I have the rules and procedures, but I'm assuming I can find it online.
Okay, I can get you. Yeah, go ahead, Peggy.
I'll send you the package kit if you'd like. I'm not sure why you weren't on that broadcast list, but
I might have gotten it. I'm just trying to find
sure,
stuff.
no problem. I'll get it right off to you.
All right, thank you very much. Y'all have a good night.
Sure.
You too, Kit. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse.
Hey, thanks, Carl. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.